Okay, we're gonna start, but let's start, even though I really am looking forward to being on the ground and being, on the mat for a good period. Let's start in standing, because probably most of the day we were, more active in the body, to some degree, whether we were, on our computers or in the kitchen or going around and taking care of business. So let's just stand with feet hips distance apart and move the shoulders around. And then have them move the other way. Okay, when you're ready, release the arms down and maybe just pick up one shoulder and then drop the other shoulder. And maybe with that, you just start to tilt the head. Just want to get any nervous energy out, or, any built up energy, excess, chaotic feelings or anything like that, and get them out through a little movement. So then we'll also swing the arms a little bit, bend the knees, and just let the arms move by the activation of the shoulders. Let that go. Shift over to one leg, pick up the opposite leg, and just shake this leg out a little bit. And set this foot down, shift to that other leg and move, shaking out. And then releasing both feet down. And now we're going to come right down to seated so that we can begin our practice. After having just moved a little bit, so that we can come to a quiet position in seated, with the tall spine, with the chin in a little bit and the neck slightly relaxed, with the crown of the head reaching upwards. And we'll bring the palms together and take a breath in through the nose. Exhale out through the mouth. Let's begin our practice by chanting the sound of Om. Just one time. Breathing in. Om. Before we move the body, stay inside and consider what it is you would like from your practice today, what you would like to receive. Maybe just give it one word. What is it that you would like to receive? And we'll take an exhalation out through the mouth. And now we're going to recline and set up some of our blankets and pillows that we've brought close by. And maybe create a little bit of a recline, or you can even bring just a pillow underneath the head. But I'd like to recline myself, so I'm going to have my bottom towards the mat or on the mat, and I'm going to see if I can set up so that my head is going to be higher up. And that way I can let the arms release down so that the hands are lower than the shoulders. And you might need to do a little trial and error as well. Lots of ways to create these inclines. Just have to get a little creative. depending on what you're working with. Okay, and once you've found your way to a reclining position, we're going to keep feet where they feel comfortable for you. So maybe that's the corners of the mat, toes out. Maybe the legs are folded or the soles of the feet are together. Now, if you bring soles of the feet together, this is nice because it kind of closes the circuitry of the body. You can feel the connection through the legs all the way up to the trunk. And then to go even more into that feeling, you can bring hand to heart or heart center and hand to belly. And this is where we can now become aware of the physical body, which we tend to forget about through the day as we're thinking and using the mind. So maybe a few deep breaths here as you connect to this body. Connecting to the beating heart. Connecting to the moving lungs. And now look to the breath and allow it to be a little bit more rhythmic. So finding a pattern that suits your body and mind at this time. So in suiting the mind, we want it to be manageable and we want it to be calming as well. So finding the longest inhalation you can complete without strain and the longest exhalation you can complete without strain, and letting these two parts of one whole breath match each other, creating a harmonious breath. Notice if you're letting yourself reach into the belly, into the diaphragm for this breath, and if not, then go ahead and put more effort there so that you can feel the hand rising and falling with the breath rising on inhalation as trunk expands out, falling on exhalation as the trunk, the rib cage all draws in. And as you're going to this breath, let's look into the body and pay very close attention, as if you can hear a sound that your body is making. So not a sound that you could physically hear, right? But something internally that maybe only in the imagination or only in the mind, only in visualization of sorts, but through auditory faculty. See if you can hear the sound of your body. Maybe it's making a tone, one note, or maybe a few notes creating a harmony or not harmony, whatever it is. Listen closely. And now letting that sound fade away as you shift your attention to the physical body again, where we're going to start to move. So let's release the hands and flip the palms upwards. And just let the arms get very heavy at this time. Let the fingers get heavy. Let the pelvis get heavy. The feet heavy. Soften the face. Find a nice clearing breath. Breathing in through nose. Clearing out through mouth. Stepping into that rhythmic breath, at this time we're going to start to rise upwards. So we'll take one hand down at a time to push the trunk and the head up, and then we'll keep the soles of the feet as they are, but we'll start to lower down. So you can lower the head down and then begin to lower the trunk, let the shoulders round, and see if you need to move a little bit here. So the legs stayed in this position for a little. I find that picking up the knees a few times and then maybe drawing my feet in a little closer is going to help me be here. So that when you're ready and you feel like you can find some stillness to rest into the posture, then let the head go and release the neck, release the upper spine, the middle of the spine, and then the lower. And the head is going to dangle loose, but if you'd like to bring props here, you can, because we will be here for, let's see, at least a couple minutes. So you can bring blocks underneath, or blankets, or hands, or just let the head hang loose. Be curious about the sensations you're experiencing, noticing where they're being felt, how they're being felt. Aware of all the subtleties as you continue to breathe evenly, moderating prana very carefully. If you sense there's space to move into, make sure you honor that and adjust for it. Maybe the head can lower a little bit more. Maybe the feet draw in closer. And practicing surrendering to every exhalation. Every exhalation, the body gives in a little bit more. And you're allowing that surrendering. And then we'll continue for 5 more deep breaths, maybe a little bit more effort in the surrendering, right? A little bit more effort. What does that mean as you surrender? It's giving yourself permission to let go of control, perhaps. And surrendering to the wisdom of the body. And we're going to start to rise upwards, walking the hands step by step. Come up when you're ready. You don't have to rush through. Once you have risen, removing props, any props behind you, just push them away a little bit so you have some space. I'm going to bring the knees together by use of the hands. And then we're going to plant the feet and plant the hands, fingers face forward. We'll find a reverse table here. So when you're ready, inhale, press into the hands and the feet, and then lift the hips upwards. Remember, fingers are going to face forward. And as you're lifting hips, activate the glutes. Let the head come back enough where you can look upwards. If it feels okay, let it go a little bit, but not too much. This is one that I myself, if I let go of the head too much, I tend to overdo it. So in this way, by just holding it a bit, you can be strengthening the neck at the same time. Take 3 more deep breaths. Squeeze the glutes a little bit more. Usually the hips can go higher than people realize. Just have to power the right muscles. And exhale, lower the hips down. Now let's come all the way down to the back. So again, making sure you have your space. Once you're on the back, we'll take knees to the chest and rock a little bit side to side. You might turn the head in the same direction as the knees or an opposite. I always find moving the head in the opposite direction of the knees helps me all the way up to the upper back, loosen up in the spine there. And from here we'll come into Happy Baby, Ananda Balasana. So finding the knees central and then picking up the feet, holding the feet with the hands. And see what you want to hold. Maybe the big toes, maybe outer feet, inner feet. You can test the rotation of the shoulders here as you move hands to either side of the foot. And then check in with the back of the legs, noticing sensation there. Maybe swaying or playing around with extension and contraction of the legs. Let's take 7 more deep breaths here. Okay, from here, let's come into a candlestick posture. So we'll release the feet and extend the legs upwards. Let the arms rest alongside the body, palms slip down. And just notice how if you flex the feet, what sort of sensation you're feeling in the back of the legs. Without judging the sensation, but taking note of it. So if you feel particularly tight, noticing that, particularly open, noticing that, or just at a typical range that you usually experience, whatever it is, just take note so that we can be aware of how this practice facilitates changes in the body. Okay, so when you're ready, let's release the left foot down and hold the right leg with the hands. And we'll move through this right foot, so we'll start to take some circles. Just letting the fingers interlace behind the leg, and see if you can keep the shoulders, the shoulder blades pressed into the mat, so that we aren't just kind of letting shoulders be lazy here, but they themselves are pressed back. And maybe flexing and pointing a few times. And we're going to create some resistance here. So when you're ready, you can flex this right foot. And then we'll say 3 times on the inhalation, push the hands and the leg into each other. Notice what gets active here, pushing into each other. And then on the exhalation, relax the leg. Okay, so then again, push into each other. Relax the leg. Push into each other. Relax the leg. Now, we're going to take 5 deep breaths here. See if you can maintain flexion of the foot. And we'll start to relax a little bit in this right leg and just rock the leg. So we're going to, with the hands, the effort's coming from the hands. Move the leg forward and back just by bending and straightening the arms. As you're doing this, notice the hip crease that's at the top of the leg, watching it contract and then contract less. Okay, then we'll go ahead and bend this right leg, draw it in, and take this right bent leg with the right hand over to the right and then back to center. So we're just going to be moving now through the hip, and again taking the knee to the right like we had earlier as we were in seated, but in a nice loose way, maybe even circling, just focusing on the right leg. Open, closing, circling, and then you can maybe reverse that. And then we will bring this leg to center and come back into candlestick posture. Take both legs upwards, flexing the feet, and just noticing now sensations, hopefully imbalanced between left leg, right leg, getting a little bit more and more open. Let's release the right foot down, hold the left leg, fingers interlaced behind the thigh. Work with the ankle first. We're moving through and stretching and warming up these muscles. We're just allowing energy to move through the body, less obstructed, more clear channels. And so flexing and pointing. And then we will flex the foot, and here we'll create some resistance. So when you're ready, push hands and leg into each other on the inhalation. On the exhalation, release. Just the leg. All right, pull that leg in closer. Inhale, push in. Exhale, surrender. Inhale, resist. Exhale, let go. So we'll take 5 deep breaths here. And we'll bend the leg And with the left hand, guide the left leg to the left, bent left leg to the left, and then back to center. So again, opening, closing, opening the hip, and then bringing leg to center, and then maybe finding circles. One more breath. And then we're going to bring this leg back to center. Take the left leg upwards, take the right leg upwards. So hopefully noticing some changes, but maybe you also notice there's room for more change. So maybe you felt open, more open before, and we're going to see if we can get a little further today, deeper into that. So let's now bend the legs and come back to happy baby and see how has this changed. Another deep breath. We'll bring the knees together, draw the knees in towards the chest. Take the left arm out to the left and guide the knees over to the right, keeping the head at first turning to the left. Then you might turn the head side to side. Keep working the left arm, left shoulder down, and then turn the head away from the knees. So you put some gentle pressure on the left outer knee to facilitate the twisting of the spine. Nice clearing breath. And then we'll bring the knees to center. You have to bring the foot down, right foot down to adjust that. And then we'll take knees over to the left, left hand guiding that outer right knee down, right arm pressing down, right shoulder blade down, head maybe turning a little bit side to side, and then eventually turning away from the knees. We'll say another breath. Now what we're going to do is just fold over to the left side. So you could pick up the right arm, come right over to the left. Stay here for a moment. Just surrender to this position. Take a few deep breaths. And we'll rise. Now, surrendering to this sort of position could be very easy for people who like to lie down. For some people who don't like to lie down, it's hard. And so surrendering really is the word to help us give ourselves permission to do that. Now we're going to switch over. So we're going to rise up and we're going to come right into a table posture, hands and knees. And from table, either downward facing dog or a heart chakra posture. So if you want to stay low and keep weight off the hands, you'll slide the hands forward and then bring the forehead down. If you're okay with weight bearing on the arms, then you'll have hands forward a little bit, roll over the toes, lift the knees, and send them back. And sometimes it's a matter of strength, and sometimes it's a matter of how you feel in making those decisions. So we'll take 4, 5 breaths wherever you are.
Now, either from downward facing dog or child's posture, we're going to be stepping the feet forward to the top of the mat. And once you're there, we'll come right into a forward fold with or without props underneath the hands. Let the head go. Bring some weight forward enough into the ball of each foot so that you can lift the toes. But if you bring your weight forward into the toes, they start to kind of scrunch up. So rather than that, just lift the toes a little, still having some weight in the heels. And then we'll start to rise. Come up halfway, lengthen the spine, lifting the head, looking forward, taking the arms out to the sides. Pause here for 3 breaths. And now we're going to continue to rise all the way up to standing, keeping the arms and the back pretty straight, but then just unhinging from the tops of the legs. We'll take the arms upwards, let the head come back slightly, and then bring palms together, thumbs in towards the heart center. So we're going to balance today. If you need a chair or a wall, find yourself close to one. And then we're going to have 2 balancing postures today. We'll start with eagle, and then we'll move towards a variation of dancer, but there's modifications and things like that. So we're going to start first with the palms together, thumbs to the heart center, standing tall. And if you're going to be close to a wall, I think for eagle, we'll just kind of have to get creative. I've never used a wall for eagle before. Maybe the back body would be towards it. I'm going to take the arms upwards. And then exhale, cross one elbow in front of the other. Wrap the arms around each other. See if you can get palms together, and if not, tops of hands together. And if not, this is good too, right? Or just find a different variation that works for you. Now just check and see which arm did you put in front. So if you put your left arm in front, so further away from the heart, then you're going to put the right leg on top of the left. So just opposite limbs in front. So we're going to start with feet hips distance and the knees bent. And then we'll start to balance on the standing leg. So for me, it's going to be left leg. And then bring right knee on top of left knee. And this might be plenty. If it's hard to cross knees, you might bring ankle to thigh. Okay, if that's hard, you might bring foot just right across to the other side of the foot and bring the ball of the foot down. If you feel like you can keep knee on knee, then hook, if you can get it, the toes behind the calf. Keep the knee bent, standing knee, and of course top knee, and see if maybe you can focus on sending elbows forward and up while you sink lower and lower into standing leg. Make any modifications that you need to be able to maintain the breath and still find a little bit of challenge. Take 3 more breaths. And then we're going to start to come out of this, unwinding the legs, setting foot down, unwinding the arms. Like we started, give the arms a little bit of some swinging, some shaking out, maybe some circling. And then we're going to do the other side before we move into the next posture. So when you're ready, let's just bring hands together again, thumbs to the heart center. And then we can reach arms upwards. Cross the opposite elbow in front this time. Find the arms wrapping around each other. And then you're pushing hands into each other if possible, or tops of hands in. Then, I have right elbow in front, so I'm going to have left knee on top this time. Soft bend in the knees, and then we bring weight over to the standing leg. Send knee on top of knee or foot on top of thigh, whatever's going to work for you, so that you could be balanced to some degree, right? Even if that means bringing the foot down to the mat and just letting it be there and just surrendering. Maybe today's not a day for balance. Or maybe it's a good day for some support with the wall or the chair. Or maybe you feel balanced. Then sink into it a little bit more deeply and surrender to the challenge of the posture. 3 more breaths. And start to unwind, releasing feet, releasing arms. I found one side was easier than the other today. It's good to observe these things and just notice. We'll shake the arms out, maybe the head. Sometimes we stiffen up when we come into those balancing postures, so we want to undo that and prevent it as much as possible. So the next posture we're going to come into maybe a dancer or maybe a variation. So we're going to be holding a foot behind the bottom and extending the other arm up. Different ways you can do this. If you think you're going to go into a dancer like this, then you can face the wall. And if not, you can kind of just have this arm, if you're going to use the wall, you can have the risen arm just like this and the side body along the wall. Okay? So we'll start by standing tall as always, shifting the weight over to the left leg, bending the right knee and holding the right foot behind. So before we rush into anything, pull the pelvis in and let the thigh, the right quadriceps, let that stretch. Let the hip flexor stretch too, that hip crease. So if you were doing a lot of sitting today, we want to give this area attention. We want circulation to come into this part of the body. So there's clear channels. We're clearing out the pipes in the body for the liquids, the fluids, the subtle energies. So you might have this left arm up. You want to make sure not to sink into the left hip. Keep this left arm up. And then here you start to focus on maybe going a little deeper. So you might bring hand to wall. You might start to tilt a little. You might push the foot into the hand. There's ways to make this more or less challenging. So play around with it and see. If you want a little bit more, you take that hand to the inside of the foot. Feel that in the shoulder blade, big change in the shoulder blade, and see how high can you lift the foot. Do you have to lower the body in order to get the foot up higher? If so, go ahead. See where you can be for 3 more breaths, surrendering to the challenge. And then releasing. Okay, so shake it out. I'm going to come to this wall because it feels funny having my back to you. So shaking out, getting ready for the other side. So we'll start by having hands to hips. Shift the weight over to the right leg this time. Grab a hold of the left foot. Pull the pelvis in. And then this is where we want to smooth that hip crease out. Feel the left thigh stretching in front. Deep breaths. Ujjayi breath, especially helpful in balancing. Okay, once we've opened this muscle a little bit, those groups of muscles, then we might take this right arm upwards. And we might see maybe there's a little bit of space that we have the ability to move into at this time. Play with the position of the hand. If you can get it to the inside of the foot, you'll get some tension out in the upper back, maybe with or without the help of the wall. And we're going to take 4 more deep breaths wherever you are. And start to come out. Okay, shake out any tension, and we'll find our way back. to the mat. And standing tall, maybe the top of the mat, feet hips distance apart, circle the shoulders a little bit. Let's separate the feet to the edges of the mat as you're facing forward. And then we'll take the hands behind tailbone. Interlace fingers. Squeeze the shoulders back now, taking hands away from the hips, away from the bottom. And then exhale, fold forward. Lower the head, letting go of the head all the way. About 3 more deep breaths. And releasing the arms down. Plant the hands. You can heel toe feet a little closer together. We're going to come down to seated. So however you get there. And once you find your way to seated, we'll extend the left leg forward and have the right foot to the inside of the left thigh. But this is going to be potentially a good spot for props. So if you're very tight in the back of the left leg, you'll sit on a prop. So maybe a blanket. You can get a few underneath. To the point where you can keep the leg straight if possible. And if not, you'll bend the leg. Let's see, you might have some blocks or blankets around to support the upper body once we lower. So when you're ready, inhale, reach the arms upwards, find length in the spine and the arms. Find length in the left leg, let the left toes face upwards so that foot is flexed. Then begin to hinge forward. And once the trunk doesn't go down anymore without rounding the back, then you'll just stop and let the hands rest, let the arms rest. So because I don't want to overextend my shoulders today, the back of my shoulders, I'm going to keep my hands in and I want to relax them today, so I'm going to keep blocks underneath. So that's where you want to get creative and see what you can use based on how you're feeling. Now for a little bit, we're going to just keep the trunk lifted. We're going to keep the back active. Eventually, we're going to round. But let's just see if we can be here and witness the body changing with every breath, every feeling of surrender, every sensation of letting go. Watching how the mental activity of letting go encourages the letting go in the physical body. At this time, we're going to start to actually let go and release any effort in the back, any effort in the spine by letting the head go and letting the back round. And seeing if you can find some support. So a block is working out for me to bring to the forehead, and then I can just release. The forearms now able to find the mat themselves. Noticing where you're feeling the sensation. The target is the back of the left leg. Now that we have the back rounded, you'll start to feel a little bit more in different parts of the back. Notice where that is. We'll take 5 more deep breaths. And we'll start to rise upwards. Use the hands to help. Let the head rise last. Now before we do the other side, let's recline all the way down and give the back and the leg just kind of a little bit of the opposite experience. You can keep the right foot where it is and extend the arms behind once you find that reclining position. And then even lift the belly button, lift the back, low back off the mat. You're going to just release and relax for 2 breaths. And plant the right foot, plant the left foot. From here you can roll over to the left side and then press your way up to seated to work on the other side. So from here we'll have the right leg extended, left foot to the inside of the right leg. Have your props ready. Flex the right foot. Inhale, take the arms upwards. Exhale, hinge forward, and then again, keep the back straight to start. Release the forearms down, or whatever feels good. If you want more activity in the arms, you can definitely create that. Maybe closing the eyes and just focusing here on witnessing the body and the breath and the mind work together. When you're ready, begin to let go. Fully releasing in. Maybe finding support for the forehead if possible. Three more breaths. When you're ready, start to rise. Walk the hands in. Head is the last to rise. Come all the way down to the back. We're almost ready to rest. Once you're there, keeping foot to thigh, reach the arms up and behind, lift the belly. And then relax the back, relax the arms. We're going to plant the left foot, plant the right foot, roll to the right side, press your way up to seated. Come to ankles crossed for a moment so we can work on the neck. We'll start by moving the shoulders in circles. Take them the other way. Shoulders up, back, down. Bring the hands in towards the upper thighs. Palms can stay up. Maybe fold the hands into each other, thumbs together. And then right from here, drop the chin to the chest. But keep the neck fairly long, so that chin is going to lower. I tend to lower my head too much, so just dropping the chin. Feel the back of the neck stretch. Lift the head. Turn the head left and right a few times. Loosening up, increasing the range of motion here. And then we'll bring the head to center and tilt the head side to side. As you're tilting, just let one ear reach for the ceiling and the other ear reach for the ceiling. Okay, bring the head to center, chin down, chin up. A few times. Bring the head to center. Now again, take one ear towards the ceiling, tilting the head, focusing on the length, that side of the neck with that higher ear. Bring the head to center. Take the other ear up towards the ceiling. And bring the head back to center. Give the head a little bit of movement, maybe let it go. You can rock it a little bit or roll it in a pendulum. And we're going to come to resting. So see how you'd like to rest today, but before we go there, let's find a simple spinal twist on the back, and then we'll go into rest. So knees into the chest. Take the knees to one side, arms to a T, maybe pressing on that outer knee as we did before. We didn't do much twisting today, so it's good to get this in and neutralize. Turning the head away from the knees. Okay, we'll bring the knees to center and over to the other side. And then we'll bring the knees to center and set up for Shavasana, relaxing, releasing the body. Letting everything go. Surrendering to this corpse posture, final resting pose. Surrendering to this complete lack of effort now. No need to control a thing about the body's experience. No need to even control the mind's experience. So if you see thoughts come in and out, let them be. Just watching everything drift in time, drift through life. Maybe it's an experience of floating or sinking, or both. Just releasing, softening jaw, softening eyes, softening ears and cheeks, softening everywhere in body, mind, and heart. Resting completely.
Slowly become aware of the body. And let our awareness just drift wherever it would take us. Watching it, witnessing it. Now we start to center it a little bit more. So center it on the body. Center your awareness on the breath. Put your effort back into the body, moving hands and feet. And maybe stretch arms behind, find length. Pull knees into chest, arms around knees. Roll to a side, rest there for a moment. And then we'll rise up to seated to seal our practice today. Sitting up tall, we'll take palms together, maybe stretch arms upwards. Palms together, thumbs in towards the heart center. First, take a breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. We will sound Om. Deep breath in through the nose. Om. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste.